Welcome to Warrior Class,
Where the teachers whoop ass,
and you
and
will too
if you
if you pass.
pass.
All right.
I gotta get Baba's paws down so we can sync it up.
Yeah, we're going. This is the mass shooting episode,
Yep.
mass shooting 2025, because we've done it before, like in 2023, something 2024,
Yeah.
uh, with another platform. But now we're bringing it to you here. But first, we're going to start with the news. So, do you have any news for us, homie Nick?
I do not have any news for us, Baba. Not today. Um, no. I recently went to the gun show and I found out that the self defense tool or self protection tool that I purchased there was not what I thought it could be. So
Yeah.
I would say just be careful out there. I mean, the person didn't really convince me, it wasn't like they duped me or anything, but I just thought I saw the value in what they had. But I was told later by a close comrade that it was not, it wasn't. So and also, when you're purchasing firearms out there, make sure that you research them thoroughly. And in particular, make sure that they have a safety on them because there's a big thing right now with, and maybe it's been there all along, but because this happened to me, um, it's on my radar, but there's a like a trigger safety. Well, it's not really a safety, but it's something with a two-part pull on the trigger or something where they don't put a safety on the weapon. They just put the two-part trigger thing, and that's not enough. So
Yeah,
make sure.
Glocks don't have a safety.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, the only problem with that is Glocks are so popular. In fact, the word Glock has almost become synonymous with pistol.
Right. True.
Um,
Yeah, because it's
they,
some
they, they,
movies.
but they don't have a safety,
Okay.
which is why I don't own any Glocks.
Me either.
So
And I definitely won't. So yeah. But go to the gun shows in your area. Go to, you know, research your weapons as much as you can because it's definitely a high time to have them.
yeah, yeah, you should have a tool. You should. Anyone who watches regularly on here should be carrying the tool anyway
Yeah,
by
well,
now. But if you have a tool, a firearm tool, or just a tool, yeah, well, watch what you're buying. Speak to those that you know have expertise in it,
right.
because it's mugs who get you with stuff too. Some firearms are not that great. Um, Now you've heard some of you who watched the show for a while. You've heard me speak on the high point. The high point pistol is awful. The high point rifle is good. So you gotta know what you're getting.
Yeah,
You gotta
well,
know the brands and um,
hmm
but the the item that she was talking about at first is a stun item. You stun the person. And what I was gonna do was stick myself with the item
I'm
to
so
show you
glad.
that some people, and especially if they're determined, they can resist that shock, especially something like that. I mean, it's. Do you have it with you right now?
I do.
Can you show that?
Mm-hmm. Is this?
That is terrible. That is terrible.
So embarrassed.
Especially the amount of money she spent on that. Yeah, she should have called me first, you know, and I told her don't buy that shit.
Yes. So if you
If
have a
you're gonna,
Bible in your life, make sure you consult them.
yeah, if you're gonna buy a stun gun, get a stun gun, not that. Um, for many reasons. But peace, y'all. Peace, Eugene Mason.
Greetings, Eugene. How are you, brother? Scion, is it 11112? Well, I guess that someone they just put these numbers on here, right? Yeah, because Eugene never had that, I don't think. So it's the number. Oh yeah, I have a number now. So it's just Scion. Greetings, Scion. Thanks for
I don't know
coming.
why they do that. Why they put the numbers on there?
Yeah, I don't know. It's odd.
So we're gonna get down to business then, since there's no news. No, I know Bile sent me something, but
He sent so many things.
right, he sent so many things, and it's just like, well, I don't know. You need to specifically say where we're starting at and stuff like that, and he didn't. So,
right. I mean, I just didn't have a chance. I've been working a lot the past few days, and I didn't have a chance to read any of the articles that he sent. But he loves, you know, the family and the viewership, and he's trying to get information to you. So next week, I will make sure, especially if he's not able to be here, that I share some of the articles that he's been sending, because it's valuable for all of us.
Yeah, no, it's valuable. I read 2 of them that he sent, and it's very interesting what he sent. So if you speak on that next week, that'll be good.
Yeah, well.
And so we're going to start. This is mass shooters. Now, there are different types of shooters. Okay, there are snipers. You got just an active shooter, and you got mass shooters. So we're about to go into a few definitions and things of that nature.
And it may be good. Well, after the show, after you review the information, you know, it's definitely something to share with your family, young children, especially because they're the ones who are, you know, going out to these schools every day, and it's important for them to know at least, you know, the basics of what to do.
Yeah. All right, it's on you.
Okay. There have been 12,875 in the U.S. so far in 2025. And of the 12,875 gun deaths, 374 have been from mass shootings. Mass shootings are ones in which 4 or more people are shot, whether injured or killed, in the same place.
The telltale signs of impending trouble are called combat indicators, which includes the demeanor and behavior of the people in your vicinity. It is not beyond the realm of possibility that you may find yourself close to someone who is about to initiate an act of terror. Recognition could lead to prevention. The most important telltale behavioral signs that diverge from the norm would be in body language. All of us, including active shooters and terrorists, have conscious and subconscious body language. general traits of behavior can be observed. When a person sets out with an aggressive action in mind, their body chemistry changes their posture, whether they like it or not. Often, military trained people or people on a criminal mission will scan their surroundings, and they will choose an observational position in a room or on the street with their back against the wall. They will be checking their own six. Your six is, behind you. Observe that behavior and be prepared for further irregularities or anomalies that will prompt you to act. For those that have been in the military for a while, you know what I'm talking about. And you'll pick up on signals automatically. Listen to that. Okay. Observe that behavior and be prepared for further irregularities or anomalies. If someone is constantly checking and rechecking a part of their body by patting it or feeling it through their clothing, they may have something to hide. Perhaps it's completely innocent and they're just making sure they still have that winning Powerball lottery ticket in their pocket. Or maybe they've got something sinister to hide, drugs or a concealed weapon. Again, consider the possibilities. Adapt and keep a sharp eye on this person. It could save lives. When a shooter attacks, you'll be in a situation where your brain will be forced to process a great deal of information in microseconds. The process of evaluating all this information, sifting through it for what is relevant to survival, is known as dynamic risk assessment.
Dynamic risk assessment is the continuous process of identifying hazards, assessing risk, taking action to eliminate or reduce risk, and monitoring and reviewing risk in the rapidly changing circumstances of an incident. In simple terms, we all carry out dynamic risk assessments on a daily basis to protect ourselves. It's a basic instinct we all possess. One obvious example of dynamic risk assessment is when you step off a sidewalk to cross the street. You look both ways to check for oncoming vehicles before crossing the street, don't you? That's dynamic risk assessment. You were probably taught to make that simple safety check when you were a child. What about climbing a ladder? The height of the building, the forcefulness of the wind, and the availability of a safe place to lean your ladder are considered and assessed before you commit to climbing it. When you were younger and your mama sent you to the corner to buy some bread and milk, you assessed the kind of sweets they had, your mama's mood before you left for the corner store, your grades in school, and whether the kind of sweets they had were worth getting a whooping before you spent your mama's change on those Now-a-laters, Chico sticks, and squirrel nut chews. There are countless factors to be considered before committing to a risky situation. Naturally, these factors vary from situation to situation and from threat to threat, but you will have time to consider your assessment and come to a decision about it. I'm sorry? You say something, Baba?
No?
I'm hearing an echo, I guess. The process becomes dynamic or kinetic when events accelerate and unfold in seconds and microseconds. For instance, when your ladder becomes unstable, or when your mama says, I hope you didn't buy all that candy with my change, because that's all the money I got. I think you left out lemon heads and Boston baked beans. Those are definitely worth the whooping.
And yeah, the candy scenario really happened when I was 9 years old.
And Twizzlers, yeah, right.
I didn't get a whooping though. Instead, my mother made me give the candy away to all the children at her church. Every doggone piece. And I didn't get to eat any of it.
Oh, that is the worst.
I was a hero to the children at Mount Tabor Missionary Baptist Church though. And it was now and the amount of that I bought, she sent me to the store, I think with $20 or something. I had $10 of change, and I spent all of that $10 on candy. Now, I grew up in the day when it was actually penny candy.
Right. I remember penny candy.
So I got hundreds of pieces of candy.
Right. Right. Of course.
I came back with a big old grocery. Her bag was like, little. I came back with a grocery bag full of candy, and I'm going to the room. I was like, what is that? I hope you didn't spend all my money on no candy. She said the exact same thing. Because it's all the money I got. I said, oops.
And she just spent $1.
She looked in there and she said, what the hell? She said, you're not eating none of this. I said, huh? She said, oh, no. You're going to give this to the people at Mount Tabor, to the children at Mount Tabor. And that's what I had to do. I at the end of the church, she said, Adam has an announcement. I had to stand up there. It was like, everybody, I got candy for you. I was like, God damn it.
Wow.
And the children were all lining up, and there was a bunch of children. And I'm like, man, why they have to take this candy? And I had to give everybody candy until that bag was empty.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your mom's good at punishments.
Yes. Very good.
Good one. Yeah. Shout out to Sheldon Cloud. He said Charlie Chan's. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And by the way, black people are the only people that say Chico sticks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's spelled chick, and it's a chicken it's a chicken on the package. It's called Chico sticks.
Right.
But ain't no black. You say, can I get a Chico stick? A black person gonna be like, huh? So then you say Chico stick. Oh, okay, a Chico stick. Because we call it Chico.
Yeah. That's what they are.
Now, somebody's bazooka gum. Yeah, that was popular too.
When it used to really have a prize. Remember,
and then it became Hubba Bubba.
Right.
Hubba Bubba gum took bazooka's place.
Right.
How did y'all know my candy list? Yeah, exactly. All right, Omniki.
That's me.
Yeah.
No, it's you.
No, it's you.
Oh, okay, my bad. During an act of terror, the time factor for your assessment is critically compressed. You've been swept away on the current of a highly violent event, and it's all too risky to make the wrong move. However, it's still entirely possible to make sense out of the confusion. It's still possible to make some basic and rapid evaluations of your situation. Remember that acts of terror, such as mass shooter events, are essentially combat situations, and there is a tried and tested rule of thumb checklist when you use when you are engaged in rapidly evolving combat. This checklist will enable you to slow things down in your mind and to rationally evaluate a situation so that you can decide the least risky and most likely successful course of action.
Consider what's going on in your vicinity, whether that's a shopping mall, a major transport hub, a city street, a restaurant, an office building, a nightclub, whatever. How many shooters, bombers, home invaders, or thugs are there? Are you able to identify their locations? Are any of your comrades around that can help you? If not, are there any others around that can and will help you? Not your comrades, but other people in the area. Having gone through this list, you can then pose yourself a couple of important questions. Who and why? These are important because answers have a huge bearing on your survival. You then ask the last vital question in relation to what you deduced and processed so far. It's the key question. What if? What if the enemy has set a trap at escape exits? Pay great attention to this possibility so your escape attempt is more cautious, more tactical. Pace your escape so you are paying as much attention to what is going on in front of you as you are to the danger pursuing you from behind. What if escape isn't possible? If escape is not possible, then find safe cover.
Next, try to organize like-minded individuals to hamper the activities of the assailant and possibly attack the shooter. Be fully aware that these shooters also make their own risk assessments. However, in their twisted and wicked world, it is a negative assessment because in most cases, they've already factored their own deaths into the equation. The risks they are concerned with are the risks associated with not being able to kill a sufficient number of people. They will assess whether they can stay alive long enough to expend all their ammunition on their victims. The risk they most fear is the risk of being thwarted in the aim of their maximum carnage. Knowing this will help you when you make a critical assessment of your situation. It will help you in deciding what if you attempt to hamper a terrorist rampage.
You've been target-rich environments. You've been hearing that a lot, especially if you watch the news. Target-rich environments are places of mass gathering, like shopping malls, grocery stores, movie theaters, a mosque, a church, a transport hub like an airport or an office. It can be any place where people are drawn together in large numbers. These are the target of choice for white supremacist groups, and they call such places target-rich environments. If you anticipate a terror event brewing, move towards safety. Most active shooter events last 15 minutes at most, around 8 minutes on average, but the chaos lasts much longer with masses of wounded people in need of urgent medical help and probably many dead bodies in the aftermath. Expect to look after yourself without any practical assistance from the authorities for a relatively long time. Do not count on any medical help or the police. You will have to fend for yourself. Your main priority is to avoid contact with the killers. Find a route out of the location and away from danger. Your secondary priority is to bring some order to the chaos, to rally at least a few of those who are fleeing the scene into a makeshift self-defense unit.
Familiarize yourself with the places of mass gathering you regularly use. Take my advice and have a fresh look at your favorite shopping malls, the transport hubs you use for your commute, the hotels, movie theaters, places of worship, schools, bars, and stores you frequent. Take note of emergency exits and where they'll lead you. Look for the doors that lead to loading bays. Note where janitors' closets or kitchens lead to outside service doors. They may provide you with a safe escape route. They may also provide you with improvised weapons in the event you are forced to take further measures to protect yourself and your loved ones. When an act of terror begins, immediately look for an escape route and keep moving away from the violence. Consciously acquire anything you can lay your hands on to use as a weapon or to obstruct the enemy's activities. Call help, your comrades, your family, or if you want to risk it, law enforcement, as soon as possible, and give them a running commentary of events as they unfold. But whatever you do, keep moving away from the threat. Finding a route to safety may not be as simple as it sounds. The problem is You won't be the only one who has thought of this. Everyone else will be rushing to the exits. The obvious escape routes will become crowded with frightened, panicked people very quickly. Shooters anticipate and bank on this because it gives them a lot of trapped victims to pick off at will. You can try to influence at least part of the stampede near you into taking a different, more positive course of action if you are forced to, or if the opportunity presents itself. You might be able to turn a frightened group into comrades. You might turn some of the herd of sheep into a pack of wolves.
At certain points in the unfolding attack, you might need to stay quiet so as not to attract the shooter's attention. Practice hand signals with your loved ones so you can communicate with them during an emergency. Here are some hand signals you can use, and I encourage you to create your own as well. Indicate the number of shooters by holding fingers up. So when you're doing that, you go 1, 2, 3, not 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 4, 5. Then you lower. That's 6 actually. 7, 8. Well, no. 6, 7, 8. No, I got it wrong. 5, 6, 7. I'm missing something. Okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and then the regular numbers like you do. Okay, that's 5. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 6, 7, 8. There's something wrong. 5, 6, 7. I'm missing a finger. 8, 9. There we go. 10. Okay. Or you can make up your own, but try not to use 2 hands. Use 1 hand for that. So that's 1 through 10. To indicate the direction in which the active shooters or shooters are operating, make a thumbs down sign, thumbs down, then point in the direction with an open palmed hand. So thumbs down, that's shooter, and then the shooter's over there, or the shooter's right there, or the shooter's over here. So you can do that. Fingers, or you can have your fingers closed and point in the direction. If you want an individual to come to your place of cover for their own safety, put 1 hand on your head. 1 hand on your head, it means come to me. If you want them to come to you urgently, pump your closed fist up and down, which means come to me quickly. Run. Okay. Finger to your lips, of course, you all know this means silence. Open palm to your ear means listen. Looking in a particular direction with your hand across your face, fingers open, means that an ambush or attack is imminent in that direction. Okay. Take cover and prepare to attack. These hand signals can be indispensable in the event of an incident, so practice them. Hopefully, your loved ones will never need them. but make sure they understand those signals just in case they do. Okay. So and you can make your own signals. It doesn't have to be the ones that I said, but you can make your own signals as well.
Do those signals come from any particular source?
They come from the military.
Okay. So there's a way to I'm sure there's a diagram or something like that can be looked up to make sure that you.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a hand signal diagram out there.
Yeah, bro. Just a second. Okay. Do not believe that you have reached the emergency. I'm sorry. Do not believe that once you have reached the emergency exit of a building, you are in the clear. There may be more than one shooter, and they will certainly have scoped out the area prior to their attack. This happened in the Bataclan concert hall attack in Paris. An active shooter was waiting in the lane outside the emergency exit from the club. As a stampede of people ran to safety, the shooter claimed many victims as they poured through the exit.
The security forces can also be unpredictable. A police counterattack in one recent siege by an active shooter ended when the gunman shot himself. The security forces present were confused and killed 2 hostages in the panic that ensued.
Do not congregate with others in open spaces. Avoid the evacuation points designated by authorities in case of fire. These areas could well become killing fields. Look for alternative exits, emergency doors, windows, and trade entrances. When you have escaped, make sure you turn when you have escaped, make sure you turn back anyone heading toward the killing zone who may be unaware of what has happened. If you are not already trapped with them, I would not voluntarily join the crowd. Instead, head away from the panicked crowd and the shooter. Look for a less obvious and less crowded route out of the lane of fire. If you can't find one, then look for cover. Taking cover is what you fall back on if you are convinced by your assessment that fleeing the scene is no longer an option.
Earlier, we mentioned cover. There are basically 2 types, hard cover and soft cover. Some people call them cover and concealment, respectively. Soft cover or concealment is an object or feature that hides you from sight but does not have sufficient strength to protect you from bullets, arrows, slingshot ammo, or other projectiles. A long drape in a window could provide concealment, but it's not going to stop an attack. It's really not ideal, however, out of sight, out of mind, so concealment is better than nothing. Hard cover usually hides you from sight and is of sufficiently strong material to afford you protection from projectiles. At this point, I'll explain the concept of dead ground to help you better understand the idea of cover. Dead ground is all about angles. Let me give you an example. During one intense firefight, I spent hours under heavy machine gun fire while in relative safety. I could even move along routes hidden from the line of sight of direct fire. Lethal .50 caliber rounds were zipping a few inches above my head while I ate my field rations. Dozens of my comrades were in the same situation and lived to tell the tale. We were able to survive in this extremely hostile environment because we found cover in dead ground. The enemy machine gun crews were simply not able to elevate or decline their barrels to an angle that could kill us. If they moved from their carefully entrenched positions to do so, we would have killed them. You can use the concept of dead ground to great effect during a terroristic event. Use the architecture and the furniture in your location to your advantage. A brick wall, a staircase, a curved stone, or a steel support beam can give you cover with the advantage of dead ground out of the arc of fire. You will be able to frustrate the shooter with angles he can't overcome without wasting time in moving. Why go out of his way to shoot you when he can find multiple easier targets closer at hand with no cover? And that's kind of cold, but it's the truth. You want him to move on. And that's in any attack. You want them to move on to easier fields. Intelligent use of cover makes you a difficult target. You will not be worth the effort to a shooter intent on maximizing his kills when there are easier targets around. Never break cover from the same place you took cover. You'll be making a predictable move. So if I run from the right to my cover, I don't leave to the right. Okay. Constantly look for fresh cover. Walls, stairways, pillars, brick or steel provides the best hard cover. Wood is not generally good protection. If it's like in the movies when they be using the wooden table to protect them from gunshots, it's bullshit. If it's a thin sheet, it will barely slow down a bullet. However, multiple layers of wood, support beams, and heavy-duty wooden architectural features will deflect bullets. So now, if you get like behind a wooden post, that can stop a bullet, but a wooden table or a sheet of wood, no, not gonna stop. Move from cover to cover. Utilize the dead ground effect. Stay low and move as fast as you are able.
Many government resources recommend finding a room, then locking and barricading yourself inside for cover. They say move away from the door, stay silent, and silence your mobile phone. Remain there until rescuers advise you to move, or if you are forced to move because of an imminent threat from a shooter. We don't necessarily agree with this strategy. We wouldn't recommend staying in a room with only one entrance or exit unless it's a last resort and you are already trapped. Once inside, you have no choice but to wait until you are rescued or until the killer finds you. If you find a room to hide in, first check it through the open door. See if there's another way out. Be at a door or a window. If you are high up in a building, a window to the outside will be of little use. Check if the door can be locked from the inside and see if it's thick and sturdy. Glance inside for furniture that might provide good barricade material. In an office or classroom, a filing cabinet will make great cover only if it's full of paper files. If it's empty, rounds will go straight through it. If you feel the room meets all these requirements, then you may judge it to be a safe haven. If not, move on quickly. Make a rapid decision. Nothing is to be gained from an internal debate about the qualities of a room. If you are not certain after a quick examination, just move on.
You know, my daughter, she went to a public high school for 2 years. And at this high school, there was a shooter. She called me from the school. She said, well, what should I do? I said, well, go to the nearest classroom and you start barricading the door properly. And she knows how to barricade doors properly. And she went to this room and she told the woman that, you know, there's a shooter out there and she wants to barricade the door. And the woman let her. So she was lucky. If you work in a place or you go to a school, you got to assert yourself and speak with expertise so you can save yourself.
Absolutely.
Remember, stay low, move fast. If the incident is in the streets, huh?
I was gonna say something about what you had just mentioned. I just, since it's on topic, but and I have thought about this a few times, being that, you know, there are places that I work that sometimes there's a lot of people that they will a lot of times automatically almost I think revert to what the hierarchy is in the building, you know, as far as like these people are, this person is in charge, so they're in charge when a mass shooting starts. But we don't want to, you know, fall victim to that, because you can basically definitely be killed very quickly trying to follow someone just because they're, you know, some type of supervisor, or because they're the director of blah blah blah. You definitely, like, you know, Bob was saying, you have to assert yourself and show that, okay, that's whenever we're at work, but now this is a different situation.
Even the police in the building, they didn't know what to do.
Right, the security, right.
Right, shit. I said, where were the police, Yami? She said they were hiding somewhere. Hiding somewhere. Because they don't want to get shot either.
Right.
Remember, stay low, move fast. If the incident is in the street, then parked vehicles may be used as cover. However, forget about the movies. Do not think the thin metal skin of a standard car will keep you safe. High velocity rounds will go through civilian vehicles like a hot knife through butter, in one side and out the other. A vehicle will provide better cover the long way, with the engine block acting as an effective bullet stop. You can also use the engine block, or better still, the tires, to provide sideways protection. Kneel next to the wheel arch, preferably at the front of the vehicle, because the projectiles have to go through more layers of material to get to you than anywhere else on the car. Be ready to move the instant you become aware the shooter is breaking down the angles and you no longer have the benefit of dead ground. Bullets travel in a straight line, so always move at an angle off the line of fire. In the street, there are stone or brick walls, street corners providing dead ground, crash barriers, and curbs. Dumpsters provide excellent cover. In fact, there's an endless variety of structures. Use these features and keep moving from one to another as you find it necessary. Stay low, move fast. Should you find yourself on the beach during an attack, try to move away from the gunfire, but move at an angle, which will take you to protect cover. Cover may include sand dunes, rocky outcrops, or a promenade with architectural features to shield you. There are good reasons why the military uses sandbags for cover. 1 foot of sand can take the kinetic energy out of heavy rounds. 1 foot of sand, a sandbag. Look for impressions or hollows in the beach in which to take cover. I got to warn you, though, while sandbags will stop bullets, they will not stop arrows. So if the terrorist or shooter or what is firing arrows or crossbow bolts, hide behind a stone or metal structure if you can. I got into a shooting incident on the street. I was walking home from the train, and a dude murdered a guy in the car. I was like, oh, shit. And I froze, hoping he wouldn't notice me. And he was looking around to see if anybody saw him, and he looked dead at me, locked on my eyes. I was like, shit. Now, I had a gun on me. And so I drew my gun as he lifted his, and I went behind the car. And so we shooting at each other. It was crazy. And then finally, I laid down and I saw his leg out there, and I shot him in the leg. He fell, and then I shot him again. And then I broke out, ran home. I was not waiting to report this to the police, and then I broke out of there. Okay, so that was the craziest probably incident I've ever been in my life.
Wow. As far as we were talking about the beach. So as far as the beach goes, I would personally avoid trying to swim to safety. We know of at least 2 waterslide terror events where shooters strafe those.
Straight.
Excuse me. Wow, that's a new one for me, Baba.
Straight.
Okay. Shooters strafe those attempting to swim for safety with automatic rifle fire. However, depending on the prevailing circumstances, your decision may be different. You may have assessed that the shooter is moving away from the water, and you might then choose to swim. If you haven't been seen and you can make it to the water, swimming may be a good option.
Mass shooters in the U.S. are overwhelmingly male, over 95%, and the majority are white, roughly 60%. While most are white, mass shooters represent diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds. The approximate breakdown is white is 60%, blacks is 21%, Hispanics or Latinos is 10%, Asians is 6%, and others unknown is 3%. And finally, the mean age for mass shooters is around 34, with 2 primary clusters identified: younger individuals in their late teens to early 20s, and a group in their 40s who often commit workplace-related shootings.
Wow.
So those are mass shooters.
I know we talked a little bit about the government recommendations, and if there are people, I'm sure there's people out there who are still working just like regular jobs. You know, sometimes they'll have a training that is supposed to be for when mass shootings happen. In my personal experience, the training is basically what anyone would do in that situation had they not received the training, and that's basically, I think it's like run, hide, you know, like try to escape, like, you know, it's just things that aren't really real strategies. So I wouldn't try to depend on anything that you see, any videos that you may be shown at work. Like you definitely have to come up with your own strategy and make sure that you have things in place, things that you keep on you, things that you may have in your desk if you have one of those, or your locker, or someplace where you can keep, you know, things close by that may help you in this type of situation.
Right. Yeah, I've been hired to teach at schools, and because they're like, what they got from FEMA or whoever they got it from was piss poor, and they didn't have any confidence in it. I don't know why so like police agencies and stuff. I don't know if they don't care about the people, but why they just giving them this basic run and hide job? Because yeah, you would do that anyway.
Right.
But even when you run and hide, it's got to be tactical.
Right.
You got to look for cover if you can find it. If you can't find it, concealment. But and then you got to move from cover to cover, cover to cover, cover to cover, cover to cover, moving low and fast.
Yeah, bro.
When you barricade a room, if you go into a room and if you have to go into a room that only has one exit, when you barricade it, don't stack stuff up. So don't put a table and then a table on top of it and another table on top of it. That's going to get knocked down.
But that's what they do in the movies, Baba.
Yeah, that's right. And there's some garbage. You put a table, and then behind that table you put another table, and then behind that table you put another table, and behind that table you put another table, and behind that table you put another table until it's to the wall. So now you have like a bar that the person, they're trying to get in, but it's basically to the wall, so they can't get in because they can't push it open. If you stack the thing thinking it's going to give it enough weight, it's going to be so much weight they're not going to be able to get. That's some garbage. And there have been movies that have shown, the person finally gets through the barricade that you put up, and then they come and take your life or whatever. It wouldn't take as long as it does in the movies, though. They'll knock that shit down. So make sure that you're stacking it behind each other, not stacking it on top of each other.
Yeah, bro.
Remember the man that was taking guns out of people's hands? I don't think I'm gonna try that. I don't remember that.
Maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe it's
You were doing a demo or something.
Yeah, like a disarm video or something like that. There's a lot of those around.
Yeah, and don't. There's some garbage too. I've seen some Krav Maga stuff that the dude, he takes this active shooter, and he takes his rifle from him, busts him in the head, and then he get out of here. That ain't happening like that. That is not happening like that. And if first of all, if he got his rifle extended like that, he's an idiot anyway.
Right. Baba has this saying about training for the sucker, which basically means that and I've heard people say this in martial arts videos actually, that the average person is not going to be able to defend against blah blah blah, just like the person who has the rifle extended. But you don't want to be training or thinking about what the average person may or may not know. You want to be paying attention to what experts may know. That because then of course you're going to get past the average person, but you want to be thinking on the level of an expert, or at least be trying to study on the level of what an expert would do in these particular situations. Just like with the them scoping out the exits. You don't want to say, well, most people aren't going to scope the exits, I'm just going to run. No, you want to be thinking about that. You want to make sure that you're considering all the possibilities.
Yes. And for me, if I have a firearm, I got it close to my chest, and then I extend it when I'm about to shoot. And that's whether it's a rifle, whether it's a pistol, what have you, right? It's close to my chest, then I extend it. So you don't think about disarming. You think about getting the hell out of there. Yeah, if you're going to disarm, you disarm with something really heavy, really sharp, and that ain't your hand. That ain't your foot, none of that. You don't think of, even if you got a knife, you don't think of kicking a knife out of somebody's hand. That shit
Baba? He froze on my screen, or maybe I'm the one who froze. Can you let us know in the chat if you see if he what you're seeing out there? I think basically what he's saying is that's unreasonable. You know, and in African martial arts, we do not train a bunch of high kicks for that very reason, because you don't want to be trying to kick. There's a section on one of your legs that if you're cut, you're basically done unless you can make it to a hospital or to some kind of medical expertise very quickly. So, oh, I'm the only one here. So, you know, whatever you may train in. Okay, so it was Baba. I'm sure he'll be coming back in soon. But whatever you may train in, you may train high kicks, but just keep that in mind, especially when you're facing someone with a blade, that you don't want to be trying to disarm them. There's you know, other strategies that you want to use in that particular situation. And I'll also think about this when I started training in martial arts, a lot of people train more than one. So, you know, think about that as well. If you're training in one area that has high kicks, maybe choose another martial arts to train in if you have that bandwidth that doesn't do that. Maybe do throws, maybe do other things that will be just as effective. Greetings, Baba.
Sorry about that. Just the computer just kicked me completely out of everything.
Yeah, that's
but I was saying, you know, you don't try to kick a knife out of somebody's hand. I don't care if you are Taekwondo master. I don't care what you are. That is ridiculous. Number one, you're kicking. He got a knife. If he cuts you in between your legs, you got a femoral artery which goes from 4 fingers above your ankle up to almost your groin. All you gotta do is just put the knife out, just nervously, and he'll cut your femoral artery and you bleed out. The femoral artery is the largest arteries in the body besides the valves in your heart. In fact, they use those arteries to replace the valves in your heart if the valves are damaged. You will bleed out in minutes if you get your femoral artery cut. In fact, a lot of soldiers, tier 1 soldiers who commit suicide, special operators, they will slice like 4 fingers above their ankle, cut their femoral artery, and they'll bleed out. That's one of the easiest ways to commit suicide, and I don't recommend suicide. So don't take my advice and be, you know, hey, I'm gonna do myself.
Yeah.
But that's how they kill themselves. So don't be kicking knives. Definitely don't kick a pistol. Don't try to do that. If you're gonna use your feet, use it to run. Get low and run. Okay.
Yeah. I was talking about when I kind of just went on with what you were saying while you were out, and I was talking about the fact that a lot of people who do martial arts may train in more than one art. So if you are training something right now where they use a bunch of high kicks, maybe get something else under your belt that you can use that doesn't do that, so that you have another tool to use besides defaulting on trying to kick a weapon out of someone's hand or a tool out of someone's hand.
Right. If you're a martial artist. Well, it depends. So I know couple of martial artists who do taekwondo and they do capoeira. Neither one of those will save your life in a dangerous encounter. I mean, if somebody, this big dude trying to grab you or something, yeah, it'll save your life. But if against an active shooter or against somebody who's wielding a knife or machete or something, no, because they rely so much on kicks. No, don't do it. In fact, with capoeira, a brother who is a well-known master of capoeira told me one time, don't worry about defending yourself, just dance. I said, fuck out of here. I said, just like that, fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. Don't worry about dance.
Right.
Think about defending your life. And I don't worry about it at all. I think about it all the time.
Right.
I got to defend my life, my wife's life, my children's life,
right.
My students' life. I got too many lives in my hand not to think about it. And if somebody like, I'm about to kill you, coming at my wife with a knife, and I start dancing,
right.
She gonna always look at me like this weak nigga. This weak nigga could have protected me, but he started dancing. Think about what's out there, y'all.
Yeah, bro.
What you're getting involved in. Now, if you want to get involved in capoeira to stay in shape, to do something beautiful, do that. But don't fool yourself and think you're going to defend yourself, defend your life.
Right.
I know probably 100 capoeiristas. Out of those 100, 2 of them can probably defend themselves with capoeira. 2 of them. Mm. And and if the person got if the person really got go, they can't defend themselves either.
You're committing your hands to the ground. So
right, that too.
Fundamental flaw.
You're not shooting nobody, you're not stabbing nobody because your hands on the ground. No, man. In fact, it was a brother here in Atlanta who he was in the same community as me, but a priest, at that time I wasn't a priest. A priest set it up. He said, show Balagoon what you would do against, against somebody like him. And he's getting all low to the ground and scooting towards me. And my student said, man, get out of here. And boom, kicked his arm. And when he kicked his arm, he fell. Blue. I said, yeah. And after that, I follow up with choking you. So we shot this movie called A Single Link. And in it, my wife plays this character that fights different martial artists, right? To get to this one dude. One of the guys, a capoeira guy. While we were rehearsing, oh man, he was bad. After I said how she beats him, he quit. He said, man, you're revealing how to really defeat capoeira. I said, well, yeah, it's because it's a movie, but people who watch the movie, they're not thinking how I defeat capoeira like this. They're just being entertained. He said, "Yeah, man, I got too much responsibility to capoeira to do that." He would not shoot it.
Wow.
Yeah. So
the reality was too much.
Yep. Too much for him. Now, against a person fighting with their hands, you just using your hands fighting. A capoeira person will damage you. A good capoeira person will damage you. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I know 2, maybe 3 who would do you some damage. But if you add a tool to that, a knife in your hand or a pistol, and the capoeirista don't add no pistol, and how he's gonna lose that. He's gonna lose that engagement.
What is he gonna do with the pistol?
Well, this brother, he does capoeira Haitianal, not Angola. So Angola uses both hands on the ground. Oh. Capoeira Haitianal, it puts one hand on the ground, so he could have a pistol. Okay. And then they're the ones that do the high flying, acrobatics and stuff like that. That comes from Maestre Bemba. Maestre Pristina created Angola. Well, he says Angola, from Africa, right? And that is not true.
Yeah, I've heard it called Angola for that very reason many times. Well,
the Ngolo is an exercise that is done by young men who want to get married. They show their athletic abilities. It ain't got nothing to do with fighting. So now the dude was right when he said, just dance, because that's what it's about. It ain't about war. It's about warriors being able to dance and get a wife. It shows your athleticism. But you are not going to find any free man moving like that. You're not going to find that. Let me see. Damn, lessening his liabilities. Yeah, bo. Word. Let me see. Yeah, bo. I wonder everybody saying yeah, bo about.
I read it when the first person said it, but I can't remember. But shout out to Petty Gibbs. Thank you, Petty, for letting me know Baba was frozen. Our good brother Emmanuel Briggs, our good sister Brittany. Welcome.
Yeah. And lurkers and all that good stuff.
King Duck.
Ooh. Any questions you all have?
Does questions? Anyone have any experience with mass shootings as well? Any kind of experience that you can share or would like to share? If you have experienced that, or if someone close to you has. Mm-hmm. I know I myself am constantly reassessing. Like Baba said, I have words for it now, but I'm constantly reassessing the places that I work in, how you can get out. Because especially when you work in buildings with stairs, there tends to not be a lot of people who take the stairs. So if you are a person who works somewhere and you start taking the stairs, you're going to be in the minority anyway. but
Yeah.
use that once you start taking those stairs, use that to start learning, okay, how, because some buildings the staircases don't necessarily lead to exits. Some of them are dead ends, some of them will lead to certain places. So start to familiarize yourself with that in the places that you work in, so that can be like we have talked about in this episode, you can be one of those people who knows how to get out, and you'll be again in the minority, because a lot of people will be going the obvious route.
Now, Petty Gibb said, "Nah, a fool one time lost his marbles, had both my sisters hostage, and he ended up shooting it out with the police. Ninja lived too."
Um,
But I'm just amazed that he lived, because he had a shootout with the police and they let him live. You know, um, but sorry that happened to your sisters, man.
yeah, trustfully, they
Damn.
yeah, got some counseling or got what they needed to get past that situation, because I can imagine that being very difficult mentally.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, wow. Um, like I said, my daughter was, involved in a active shooter event. Um, Nobody else that I care about has been involved in an active shooter event other than myself. Uh,
When the closest I've come is one of my coworkers who was a Yurugu, actually. His daughter was in one of those. I think they just had the 1 year anniversary, but we were at work, and his daughter was in the building. While this mass shooting was going on, it was a school. She was a teacher's assistant, so there was, it was very tense for him at that time when we were, there, because there was nothing he could do. But I'm sure she lived through that. But that's the closest that I've come to actually being near someone who was dealing with that, directly. And trustfully, that's the closest I will come. Other than Yay Me, of course.
right.
Yeah.
And I have a cousin that, now I don't know if he was a mass shooter though, but I have a cousin that she was sitting on the porch, on her porch, and a dude just drove up and shot her to death, shot her multiple times to death.
Wow.
Um, Now I had heard, I'd never seen her on social media doing it, but I'd heard that she would be on social media going off on people. Person, yo punk motherfucker, blah blah blah, the keyboard warrior type thing,
Right.
and somebody ended her because of it. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
So be careful of that kind of stuff too. I
Yeah.
don't get into arguments with people online no more. I used to, but I got a itchy trigger finger for delete. I delete a mug quick. Sorry to hear that, Baba. My condolences. People are crazy. Yes, they are. Uh,
Definitely. Yeah, and about the online argument thing, like I tend to, when I'm online, if I actually express an opinion about things, it's because I'm trying to bring light to a situation, unless it's some kind of humorous whatever interaction. But a lot of people will become argumentative or call you names, or people are wild these days. But I always try to bring it back into focus on what the lesson from whatever the situation is. and try not to engage with them. And that might be useful for someone else out there, because I mean, you can't let people get you into your feelings about whatever it may be. If they do, then they're controlling you, and they're able to control you. So, just say
And
what you gotta say.
some people know that. Many people know that. I got this mug. I'm in control of this motherfucker. So many people know that. Some don't. They just in the moment too, just acting off emotion. But like my cousin, they said, she would get into arguments with folks, and like long drawn out arguments. She writing a whole long paragraph on them, and it seemed that somebody got frustrated with that and just, I'm gonna kill this bro.
Yeah. It's funny, sometimes you read these diatribes, and a lot of these people don't even really have the education to, go into everything. And think about that, when you're reading these things and all these words are misspelled. Not that anyone has to have a perfect, grasp on all of that, but just think about, who am I really arguing with right now? Sometimes people don't have much else going on, so you don't want to be, drawn in by that.
A strategy that I use with people who write long paragraphs and all that of information to me, usually I won't read it. Sometimes I've read it, depending on who the person is, how dangerous I may deem them.
Right.
But I always answer with one word. Okay, or
right. That will make someone try to find you.
Yeah, and I mean that's cool with me, but
that's frustrating.
I said okay. They send that long thing. I said okay. Yeah, or right, give a like or whatever. Now I won't give a laugh, because that will send somebody off too.
Yeah.
But I will, like it or whatever. The only people I worry about, it was just me, they would send that long thing, and I'd be like, oh boy, this is ridiculous. But I have to be concerned with my wife and my children.
Yeah, bum. Right.
Because if somebody does something to them over something I said, that's going to haunt me forever, and I'm going to forever be hunting them.
Right.
Hunting them. I'll be haunted by what I said or didn't say, and I'll be hunting them forever. And so that would take me off of what my mission is.
Right. Yeah, bum.
Because it wouldn't be no more of this, because I wouldn't have the bandwidth to do this and hunting them down too.
Right.
It wouldn't be my books being written. I all that would be put on hold, and I will hunt them until I found them. Mm-hmm. I got to believe that some of you all are like me, so don't put yourself in that position. But like I said, I'm not giving them no energy. Yeah, so and so, and they write this long diatribe. I was like, or okay, or thumbs up, or whatever. They don't get nothing from me.
Yeah, bro. I like to throw the odd meh out there. MEH.
Well, that can piss a person off too, man. I mean, I guess okay can piss somebody off too if they were already pissed off. really anything can set a person off, but I try not to give them much energy.
You see Petty's question?
What name do I look the African Bible book under?
Yeah, I guess African Warriors Bible.
African Warriors Bible. Yeah, it's called African Warriors Bible. African with a K. The African Warriors Bible.
Right. And you, of course, you look up Baba's name, Baba, or excuse me, Balagoon Ojitade.
Right, Balogun Ojitade. So it's African Warriors Bible.
Yeah,
I've got several books on survival out there. African Warriors Bible was a bestseller, and the Urban Survival and Preparedness Self-Defense Manual is a bestseller.
Yeah,
and the thing about that book, it's a bestseller and doesn't have any photos in it. African Warriors Bible has different techniques, so it has photos in it explaining the different techniques. African Warriors Bible doesn't have any explanation
the
of
survival preparedness.
Yeah, survival preparedness, self-defense manual, urban survival preparedness, self-defense, USPI self-defense manual. It doesn't have any photos whatsoever except on the cover. And that's just a photo of the logo, but it's packed with information. Like 300 pages or something like that. But it's packed with information.
Right. So make sure you add it to your library.
Yes. All right. So if we got no questions, we're going to close out here. Be safe in your homes.
Yeah,
Be safe out there, wherever you go to, especially against active shooters. Mass shootings and things of that nature.
Think for yourself.
It's a very dangerous world, so be prepared. Stay black or whatever it is that you may be.
Yeah,
Peace.
Peace. Love y'all. Be safe out there.